Hello and welcome to a movie demonstrating how to use the Mentor Graphics license utility to install a mobile compute and or floating license file. And here I start out on SupportNet. I'm at TechNote MG59655 and I'm going to go ahead and click the download or the install file for the utility. Once it finishes downloading, I'll run it. By default it loads to C Mentor Graphics, and it does create a subdirectory Mentor license utility for all of the files. So I'll go ahead and click OK, and the utility will come up automatically. And I should mention that there is a shortcut created down in Mentor Graphics license utility. So when the utility comes up, you want to click on the install license button in the lower right hand side. And since the license file that I'm installing is actually a combination mobile compute, also known as node locked uncounted, and a floating license file, and I also have a USB key attached to the machine. So I'm going to go ahead and click next, and my license file is downloaded to my desktop, Site 2811. Go ahead and double click that, and if you have hardware key based licenses, you'll get the following prompt. And unless you know that your drivers are installed and working, then you want to go ahead and check the box. And I'm not sure the state of my drivers, so I'll keep the checkbox selected. That way the program will take care of the driver installations for me. So I'll go ahead and click continue. And with the Aladdin driver, it starts out by uninstalling any existing drivers, and then it moves over to installing the current version of the driver. And the driver installation has finished. I'll go ahead and click OK. And the next dialog to appear is the node locked uncounted dialog. And if there are node locked uncounted, also known as mobile compute licenses in the license file, you'll be presented with three options. The first one is to install licenses only for matching host IDs, and you can see I have one Flex ID key under there. The second one is to install license for all host IDs. That might be appropriate if you're swapping keys with different coworkers and you want to make sure you've got all of the node lock licenses. And the third option is if you wish to ignore installing the node lock licenses. Perhaps you're only a license server and you don't need the node lock licenses for whatever reason. I'm going to go ahead and click the first option since I know I don't need to swap keys and I only need licenses for that one Flex ID at the top there. Go ahead and click continue. And I already have a license file in place, so it's telling me, so I'm going to go ahead and click replace, and because I know this is a complete license file, and it will also make a backup copy of my old license file in the license file directory. And here you can see it's installed the license file to this location, and the MGLS license file variable has been updated. So I'm going to go ahead and click continue. And at this point, if it detects there are floating licenses in the license file and they match a host ID on this system, then it figures that you want to be a license server. So in order to be a license server and to configure the license manager, you need the license server software. So go ahead and click continue, and it will install that software for you. And then it extracts all the floating licenses and edits that license file, and then configures the license manager and installs it as a Windows service. And here is the location of the floating licenses in serverlicense.txt, and it's also added the ported host to the MGLS license file variable. And here we can either view the license file. You can see it's made a couple of changes to the server and daemon line. None of the mobile compute licenses are in there because they've been extracted, and the view log button will show us the log file, and we click close. The license file has finished, and we can click refresh in the main dialog for the utility, and then we can go under the MGLS license file system variable, and here's the node lock license that was just installed. Go ahead and double click, and we see all the mobile compute licenses. Close that down, and if you double click on the new ported host value, it will run a status inquiry of the newly installed floating licenses, and it looks like they're up and running. And that is the completion of the demonstration. Thank you.